This is major breaking news. We have a ton of big stories coming out today and tonight. And one of the biggest ones is we have a showdown between the federal government, the White House, and Texas. Right now, we're having a showdown, and the federal government is issuing an emergency warning to Texas right now. We also have these new travel rules going into place for flying that are not the same for everyone. We're having different rules for different people that are happening right now for flying, and flying is no longer safe, right? This is being implemented around the country. We also have multiple hospitals that are being bankrupted as well due to the same situation. All these situations are related. Right now, we have multiple hospitals going into bankrupt situations, and then we also have new city council members coming out of Chicago, Illinois, and the suburbs near there. They are now saying that you are going to have to give up your homes. This just happened yesterday. We're having more states and more cities saying you are going to have to give up your homes very soon. And now Chicago just announced this yesterday. All right, so this stuff's spreading. This is happening all over the country. We are having big battles, and we are seeing a major showdown between the states and the federal government right now. And this is collapsing our critical infrastructure. All right, this emergency is collapsing our critical infrastructure. Hospitals are going bankrupt from this, and this is part of a planned strategy. It's called Cloward and Piven strategy. All right, this is a known strategy, and just the basis of it is that they use overwhelming of the systems to cause societal collapse. It says it's the strategy of forcing political change leading to societal collapse through orchestrated crises, all right? And it could be overwhelming the social services, overwhelming the national debt, and also things such as unfettered immigration, right? This is a proven strategy that's been around for decades. Since 1966, they developed this strategy, and it's being implemented at full steam right now. So let's get into all these big stories that are happening. Let's get into this first one that's coming out of Illinois right now. All right, this is coming out of Chicago, Illinois suburbs from Naperville, and the city councilman is suggesting a sign-up sheet for local families who are interested in housing migrants. Right? So this idea is now being pushed to more and more cities and more states. Now Chicago, we had New York announcing it, the mayor a couple days ago, and then we had the Boston or the Massachusetts governor coming out and announcing it as well, that this program is happening. And now city councilmen from Chicago and the suburbs area are now announcing that they are going to start housing, quote, migrants inside people's homes. All right, so Councilman Josh McBroom is recommending a sign-up sheet in Naperville right outside of Chicago. Right, so this idea is spreading. This is gaining traction, and soon it will not be voluntary. Soon it will be forcefully. You will have to abide by these programs. All right, you will have to house people inside of your homes. That's what is going to be the future very soon, because there's not enough homes. There's nowhere to put tens of millions of people that are entering. I believe there's been around 18 million people, admittedly, that's just what they admit, that they've processed since 2020. Okay, and this number is probably even higher. It's probably like 25 million, maybe even 30 million. There's not enough homes. There's not enough resources. There's not enough food. It's causing inflation. It's causing shortages. It's causing strains on our social services and our healthcare. All right, look at this. Denver Hospital is raising the alarm about its $136 million deficit that is due to migrant, quote, migrant pregnancies and migrant bills. All right, so Denver Hospital, Denver Health, the largest hospital in Colorado, they are warning that they can't sustain this $136 million a year deficit. All right. And they're saying it's been going up every year, and this is the peak year, highest it's ever been. And they are potentially even looking at bankruptcy scenarios in the future if they are not able to contain this. All right. $136 million just from, quote, migrants alone that are having pregnancies and having diseases and health issues that are coming over and getting free health care. Right. And there's no one to really bill it to, and the deficit's stacking up. This is collapsing our social services, and these cities, they need to say that they are not sanctuary cities anymore. That's one of the biggest issues. They need to announce that they are not sanctuary cities. We do not want this, and the border needs to be shut down. We will get to this warning that the White House is issuing Texas as well in just a second, because this is all related. This is all related, and the White House is fighting the states to keep this going right now. They are fighting tooth and nail to keep this crisis going for some reason. For some reason, they want to have tens of thousands of military-aged 20, 30-year-old men enter our country. All right? Really quick, too, check out this new infographic that is being put in place in airports by the TSA. All right, so this new poster is being put up in airports all over the country, and they're saying that it is to help, quote, migrants get to their flight. And look at this poster. All right, we're just going to read it really quick, what it says, because there's rules for us American citizens, and then there's an entire different set of rules for people that aren't even citizens. It is insane. It is backwards. And this should not be happening in the United States. Check this out. It says non-U.S. citizens documents validation using CBP1 technology. All right, this is a picture posted by somebody that was in the airport recently. It says TSA is partnering with the CBP to test the use of this new checkpoint system for non-U.S. citizens traveling. All right, it says step 1, notify the TSA officer you are a migrant. It says they will take your photo optional, and if requested, provide your alien identification number or biographic information. It says follow officer instructions, and it says you may decline to have your photo taken. If you do not wish to have your photo taken, notify the TSA officer. And it says you have to give your number or biographical information, which I'm pretty sure just means you have to just tell them what country you are from. You just have to tell them what country you're coming from, apparently. That's the only information they have to provide. And they can even deny to take a photo. You have to show a photo ID with your driver's license and everything, and have everything line up to buy a plane ticket to travel on the planes. And these people that we have no idea who they really are. They just showed up yesterday in our country. Tens of thousands of military-aged men. All this chaos is going on around our country, and there's even more. There's more stories we're going to cover here in a second too. All this chaos is going on, and at the same time we have the White House warning Texas and telling Texas that you better open up this park, Shelby Park, in Eagle Pass, Texas, because Texas, the National Guard was deployed and they took over this part of Texas, Eagle Pass. That's a major crossing and a major port that people show up at. Okay, and they took over this one park, Shelby Park specifically, and they kicked out Border Patrol and they kicked out the federal National Guard as well. This happened a few days ago. And the White House has been warning Texas, saying that this is your last day. They're saying this is the last day, Thursday, Friday at midnight. They're saying this is the last day to let the feds into Texas and into Shelby Park. And Texas is refusing to let Border Patrol in and let the feds in. And they want in so bad because they are just allowing people to go in. The feds are just allowing people to openly flow into our country. Border Patrol are letting them in. And Texas, they are now arresting people. Check out this article here. The Texas Border Patrol is now arresting single males and single females, single adults that are showing up without families they are now being arrested for trespassing in Texas, and they are being detained. All right, so they are now being detained under Texas law, and they're going to try to deport them that way. Right? That is why this battle's being set up, and the White House is involved in telling Texas and warning Governor Abbott that they need to let them in, because the National Guard's literally been blocking the entrances and setting up checkpoints to not allow Border Patrol in, and the federal National Guard in as well, because all they do, they just go in and take down the barriers, take down the razor wire that they built, and they just process these people and let them flood into our country nonstop. Right? This is a battle between the states and the federal government right now, and for some reason the federal government is facilitating this flow of people, and we know that there are people slipping through the cracks, and we know that there are foreign nationals and foreign governments sending over their militaries and sending over their troops, sending over their military units to potentially be set up and to be activated at a future time inside the US. Right? These cells are being sent over, these units are being sent over, and they're getting free housing. And now they are potentially even going to force them into our own houses. Right? They're saying if you have an extra room, then you need to give this room up. They're saying that you should be considering this, but they never announce themselves that they are allowing people to stay in their home. Right? The mayor of New York, the governor of Massachusetts, and now these city council people in Illinois, Chicago, are now all announcing this, but I haven't seen any of them sign up and be on the sign up list to allow people into their own homes, because we wouldn't even allow American troops into our own homes. This is part of the Constitution. This is part of the Quartering Laws, Quartering Act. We do not even allow U.S. troops to be stationed in our own homes. It's against the law. It's against the Constitution. But we are going to allow people that we don't even know who they are. Right? There's people coming from all over the globe. How are they getting here? They're being funded and directed by these non-government organizations, and also these quasi-government organizations like the UN. The UN is funding this mass migration. They're funding this all over Europe. They're paying for boats. All right, they're funding thousands of boats to just show up into Europe every single year with thousands of people on them from Africa, right? They're just showing up into Europe constantly and overwhelming these small towns, these small communities, just like in the US. The same thing's happening. Who's paying for their plane ticket to fly all the way over? A giant portion of this migration is not people just coming up from Mexico or South America or Central America anymore. That's not really what's happening right now. We're seeing giant flows of people from all over the globe, from Africa, from India, from China, right? We're seeing major flows of people flying over here, getting flights and showing up in the US. This is not what this system was set up to be. This is not what it was set up to be. And it's a national security threat and a national security risk as well. If you haven't seen what's going on around the globe right now, there's a lot of geopolitical things going on as well. Okay, Pakistan and Iran are duking it out right now. Okay, Iran fired missiles into Pakistan. Pakistan is doing airstrikes in Iran. Right, this escalation hasn't happened in decades. This type of escalation in this region with these two countries, especially Iran, and Pakistan has nukes. Okay, Iran has a nuclear program, and we know that they have enrichment capabilities to have nukes as well. And we know that certain countries are sending their soldiers over. They're sending their people over into the US to be activated for something big to happen in the future, right? When there's a big war breakout. Okay, well, they have, it's like it's in their back pockets, or ace in the hole that they have. Well, they have 10,000 troops from this country in our country now that can be activated and take over a whole region, take over a whole city now. Some of these cities have 200,000 people in them. New York City has around 200,000 people were shipped there, bused there, flew in there, showed up there the past year. All right, that's just one city, and even if a small fraction, it's just 2,000 people, 1,000 people are from a foreign country. They could be activated. All right, they could be activated and take over these cities during a major escalation. And when these people show up, they are just given court dates that are decades in advance, 5 years, 10 years, some of them 10 plus years in advance, because the courts are so backed up. They're saying that over 3 million cases are clogging up the immigration courts right now, and it's probably even more than that. And a lot of these people, they just show up, they're given a court date 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and they never even show up. They never even show up, and they're gone, and we don't know where they're going. They're allowed to get on planes. Planes are extremely unsafe right now. Extremely unsafe. I would not be flying. Did you see the door flew off this Alaskan airline flight? Okay. There's a competency crisis with our flying right now, and there's also a national security crisis as well, where anyone's allowed on, and the normal protocol. I thought this is why we implemented this security state for flying, was to keep it safe, but it's only for American citizens. It's only American citizens have to go through this. But then if you're not, we don't even know who you are. You don't even have proper ID. You could just say you're change your name. People are coming with fake passports, fake IDs, saying they're from different countries than from where people are coming over multiple times. They get deported. They come back with a new identity. This is happening. People are coming over with children that aren't their children, right? This is a very big issue that is not being talked about, and is very, very dangerous and very sad, all right? We used to DNA check the parents and the children to make sure they are related, right? There used to be a DNA test to make sure, hey, is this really your kid? Is this really your child? Are you related to this child that you're carrying across? And now there is no more DNA check. There's no more DNA testing at the border for these families to make sure that even the children are theirs. There's a very dark side to this as well. That is, it's censored. It's blacked out. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to really go into detail about it. And it's even right now, just talking about this, I'm getting chills just because I know what's really going on behind the scenes as well too. I know why they really want this stuff open. We know what's coming across. There's tons of illegal activity, illegal substances coming across, right? And there's also the human aspect of it as well that is very sad, and children are involved. And we know that's another reason why they want to keep this wide open, because it supplies a flow of people. It supplies a flow of people. People are a very valuable resource as well. All right. So this is just, there's a very dark side to this. This needs to be shut down. The border needs to be closed. Texas, all these border states, they need to shut it down. We had some good news coming for Texas as well. I guess good news for a few months. It says Texas border floating buoys can stay until May. Court rules, right? They're saying that these buoys, these big orange ones that spin, they're very hard to get around, all right? They're saying that they can stay until May, right? Only till May, I guess. I don't know why until May. It's this clown world, man. This is clown world that we're fighting our own. The states are fighting in the courts and fighting the federal government. The federal government suing the states to be protecting our own country. It's insane. Why is the federal government suing Texas and threatening Texas and threatening to have this standoff between the Texas National Guard and the Federal National Guard and Border Patrol? What are we going to do? Are we going to have a standoff between the military and the National Guard and the state National Guards? This is insane. Why are we doing this? Why is there this battle Why are they battling so hard to keep this open? What is going on? What is going on? I want to know the truth of why this battle is being fought so hard to keep the border wide open. And this is a national security threat. National security threat. Did you see this today as well? All right. 90,000 NATO troops are entering a massive exercise. 90,000 NATO troops. It's one of their largest exercises they've had in decades, since the Cold War, I believe. It's their largest exercise. 90,000 troops. That's a massive amount. 90,000 are being mobilized. Something's going on. Something's going on. We are already in the middle of a world war. All the parts are being put into place, all right? And then our border's just wide open. Our border's wide open. Why is it wide open? No other country on earth would be doing this. No other country on earth does this except Western NATO countries. It's only Europe and the US that are doing this. Every other country on earth has extremely strict immigration policies, and they have borders, and they're heavily militarized on their borders as well. And there's none of this. There's none of this. You come over there, you have to face the consequences, and you get deported. You might have to sit in a gulag for a couple months, couple years if you come over there, enter the country illegally. That's how it is in most countries around the world. That's how it's always been throughout history. And now it's just, these are only the West, only Western countries are being targeted for this. And it really just seems like that the people in charge, it almost seems like they're playing for the other side. It's like every move is just, what would the other side want? What would countries that we are competing with want? And they always do exactly what they would want, right? They'd always do exactly what they would want. Even these wars, they're displacing more people. Giant wars being funded on both sides of the war. We fund both sides of these wars. And then it displaces millions of people. And then these millions of people end up in our country. We end up having to just, all right, I guess we'll take them here. It's just, it's all part of it. It's all part of it. The collapsing of the country since 2020, of the world, actually, of the economy. All right. Hundreds of millions of people have starved since 2020 due to these lockdowns, due to the economic problems, due to the supply chain problems. All right. These countries actually are struggling. A lot of them are collapsing from the inside out. And it's due to this global instability that is being created nonstop. And then they are triggering people to come here. And then paying for them to come here. And then it just creates more instability and more chaos and more economic problems. And it's this cycle. It's this major cycle. They use this for their plan. That's why I brought up this strategy that has been in place. They've known this strategy since the 60s, and it's been in place at least since the 60s. And look at this video from the border. Just look at this video of these tens of thousands of people that are coming in. Tens of thousands of people just rushing in. Where do they go? Where do they go? The city of Des Moines, Iowa only has 200,000 people. And in December, there were around 250,000 people that entered our country. 250,000. More than the entire city of Des Moines, Iowa, the biggest city in Iowa. Maybe it's the second biggest or something, but one of the biggest cities in Iowa. The population came in a month, bigger than that. In a month. Where do they go? What jobs do they get? What houses do they stay in? That's why they're announcing they're coming for your house. There's nowhere to put them. They've filled up the hotels. All the hotels are super expensive. I've lived in my RV for years, and I've seen it. The past few years, the hotels have just doubled in price since a few years ago. Your average hotel, it's insane. This is part of the reason why the hotels are being filled up. The libraries, the schools, all right? They were shutting down schools in New York, high schools, for these people. I remember reading in Chicago, A few months ago, they were shutting down an entire community center, like this kids' community center where the kids play sports, they play football. I remember seeing a bunch of kids in their football jerseys all showing up to this meeting, and they were saying that they have to shut it down and they have to build these big tents here and let these people stay here instead of letting the kids play ball here. All right, this is just insane. This is insane that this is going on. And another point that was being made that these leaders were bringing up is that this could change voting. This could change voting if they were saying that in their precinct, their district, there's only like 400 or 500 people that vote. Okay? This was what one of the community leaders in Chicago was saying. There's only 500 people voting in their precincts. Okay? And if you bring in 10,000 people, even if a few of them are allowed to vote, it could swing, it could change everything. It could change everything. There's really not, when you break it down at a precinct level and a county level, there's not even that many people voting on these, especially locally in community issues. They could change everything. They could change everything. And they could have registered IDs. All right, this is part of the plan as well. It's part of the plan, and people in these communities are worried about it. They're voicing their concerns. They could just be 500 people. That's really not that many people voting, and they could just be overwhelmed and excluded, and they could just vote to just, yeah, we're going to vote to take your house away, or you have to house someone if you have an extra home, or you're going to get taxed. You're going to have a whatever $1,000 a month tax or something to help pay for this. This is what we're heading towards. This is what we're heading towards. It's going to just be used to squeeze and wring our economy and our nation dry and bring us into this crisis even more, just accelerate the crisis. And then what happens after? Once there is an economic collapse, what happens after? We're going to have a bunch of angry people everywhere. Angry people that don't even know what to do. They don't even have real housing or anything or really anywhere to go. And it's going to be even more chaotic than what we're seeing right now when we have a big emergency, when things really collapse, like we have a dollar collapse, something along these lines. And something else that's going on as well is that Chicago OHare Airport, they are now housing hundreds of people inside their shuttle areas. Okay, they shut down the shuttle bus area and the waiting area and everything, and they're now just letting people sleep on the ground there at the airport that are, quote, migrants that are just showing up. And some of them get to fly right in. Some of them fly right in, show up, and then they're sleeping on the ground in the airport. It's like, what is this? This is inhumane as well. This doesn't even make sense. These people are being told a lie, right? And how do they decide who gets it? Who gets the houses? Who gets the military barrack tents? Who gets the hotels? Who gets the $2,000 a month? Who gets the phone? Who gets it? It's very strange and suspicious who gets certain benefits, and it seems like they're setting it up so only certain people have certain benefits to be activated at a certain time, right? But isn't this a national security risk as well, having hundreds of people just sleeping in the airport that are migrants and we don't even really know who they are, and they're just in our airport 24/7? They could just be like, what if they're activated to take over this airport or cause chaos? Or they just get agitated and pissed off because they're sleeping in the airport and they're giving them peanut packets from the plane. All right, it's like, this is who's doing this? Who's allowing this to happen? Who's planning this? It seems like it's intentional. They're allowing this problem to fester and get so bad that it causes a breaking point in the country where hospitals start bankrupting and shutting down, right? Cities are just so in debt and so overwhelmed. Everything's shut down. The libraries shut down. Schools shut down. The economy shut down. They just have to tax everyone more. This is part of the strategy. This is overwhelming and breaking America. No country in the history of planet Earth would ever do this, because it's a balance. You can't just say you're helping one group while you're hurting everyone else, and lowering everyone else's standard of living, quality of life. You can't just say that. And something that I also just found out, because this is just pure inflation, the money that they're giving these people, and all the food they're buying, the hotels, the stuff they're renting, the cars they're buying, the Vespas. This is just all inflation from government money that's jacking up the prices. Something else I just read too, that the federal poverty level was $30,000 last year, okay? And then this year it is $39,000. In 1 year, the federal poverty level has gone up 9,000%, or $9,000 in 1 year. As a percentage, this is insane. If this just keeps going up, it's going to be within a few years. If you make $100,000, you're going to be at the federal poverty level, right? This is the situation. They're setting up infinite money printing, endless wars, right? That bring chaos to our economy and ruin our credibility as a country, right? And then also in the destabilization of these wars and this economic destabilization globally, imports tens of millions of people into our country where they have nowhere to go and there's no services for them to even use, right? And then it just lowers the standard of living. $9,000 in 1 year. $30,000, you were considered poverty level. Now it's $39,000. So hopefully you got a $9,000 raise last year, or you might have just entered the poverty level, might have entered the federal poverty line in 1 year, right? This is insane. And this is how you know that the inflation numbers, all this stuff's cooked. And they might say, oh, it's only 3%, it's only 4% now. Okay, well, it's been 3 or 4% or 7% or 10% every month, every year for the past 3 or 4 years now. So if you cumulatize that, then we're talking double, triple the price of things that were in 2020. Everything's double or triple the price now. And you can see it. And then at the same time, we're having this migrant crisis, this border crisis as well. This is the collapse. This is why you need to be getting ready. You need to be getting prepared. And you need to be getting stocked up on your preps. All right, getting ready. You need to be growing your own food. We got our chicks over here, our baby chicks. We're growing out a flock. We're going to get more chicks even soon, right? And we got some big chicks outside already laying eggs. We already got our flock that we've had for years outside, right? So this is what you need to be doing. We got a big tray of greens growing. We got our garden digging out. Going to be direct seeding a bunch of seeds soon. We got a seeder to do that, to help us with that too. All right. This is the stuff you need to be working on so you are insulated from this collapse scenario that they are creating, right? And it's on purpose. It's intentional. This is funded by the UN. This is funded by the WEF. Right now they're in Davos. They're meeting, and this has been one of their main strategies they've been implementing for decades now. Decades. And it's only going to get worse. All right? So please hit it up for me down there. I really appreciate that, guys, because this stuff's important. This video needs to get out. People need to see what's happening to our country, and we need to say no. We need to say we do not consent. We do not want this, and we want them to shut it down, shut the border down, shut the country down, and let's have security and prosperity in our country, right? So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. I hope you have big blessings on your homestead, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.